Did it tell you we're live yet?
Good for me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Bartolini with Codebreaker Real Talk, and today I have Rozie Alyze,
Alize.
Alize, and Carol, Somah ARah, on my show today. And I'm grateful to have Rozie on. We were just talking about the feminine power and how we're seeing a lot of, because we were all, as females and males, we were in the sex kitten beta program through Monarch. Okay, just like you see Britney Spears, with the MK Ultra and all that, the Voice of Skull. Hey, you become a sex kitten pretty much, and that's for everyone. Unfortunately, here in the world, not just the United States, but primarily the United States is a feeding ground, or how you call, we'll just say the Garden of Eden 2, which is the experiment planet or place here, especially in the US. And we're just seeing a lot of, these females being wanting to be like Hollywood stars. And just last night, which is really interesting that we're talking about this, last night I saw a movie with Bette Midler called Gypsy, and I had never seen it. And it's her training her two girls to be Hollywood stars, and I promise I'll make you a star, baby girls. And then one of them decides, I'm done. I've been 9, 10 years old for 3 years now, and then she's already like 18, and she runs away, elopes, and then she's left with another daughter, which the daughter, she's always told her, that Midler in the movie has always told her, you don't have talent like your sister. She's always being compared to her. The mom makes her wear like the blonde wigs because everything is about blonde, the Draco, the Alpha Draco agenda, right? And like the Marilyn Monroe thing, the Madonna thing. So she, toward the end of the movie, something happens where the mom needs money, which is Bette Midler, and she has her daughter become a stripper. And there's 3 stripper ladies that are older than her. And she tells the girl, she's very young, I think her name is, I don't remember what her name is, but we'll just call her Laura. She says, Laura, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just, make something, give it power. Like me, I'm doing the horn. I have talent. I can play the horn. But then she's playing the horn, but then she's like tooting and then doing her body, coercing her body to, be all sexual and stuff like that. And see, you don't really need talent to be a stripper, blah, blah, blah. So she becomes this well-known stripper and is just
Mm.
But
showing your body.
but the thing is, sex does sell.
Yeah, it does. That's why but see, they're confusing feminine power with sex. I mean, the thing of it is we have our sacral, we have our sex energy, and it's very, very powerful. But why would you want to lure men into the fake feminine energy? Do you see what I mean? There's beauty within. Yeah. What do you think, Rozie?
Well, it sells because people are buying it. And it's the oldest. I mean, we all know that the prostitution is the oldest profession. That's because there's something went wrong where men stopped protecting women and they started exploiting them. So we see that in everywhere you look. I mean, in the United States, when I first started dating, when I didn't know what I was doing after my divorce in 2020, I went on Tinder because everybody was going on Tinder. And somebody on there had said something, asked me if I had an OnlyFans. I didn't I didn't know what it was. What's that? And for anybody who doesn't know, it's like a Facebook for porn, or for porn, right? Like, would that be a good way of summarizing it? And so I was like, no, I don't have an OnlyFans. But I was pressured. I felt
Who asked you that, Rozie?
Yes, yes.
Who asked you?
Who asked me? I see. That was on Tinder. So it was like years ago. Somebody that was interested in me said, "Do you have an OnlyFans?" And I didn't have one, and I didn't know what it was. I But yeah, it's out there, and it's just such a there's a lot of money to be made, and a lot of women are making a living on there, and they have the guise of being empowered. I'm empowered because I'm making money, and they feel empowered because a lot of them are damaged, and they are recovering from abuse and things like that, so they feel more powerful taking men,
Absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah,
making money from these men that lust over me to help me heal when I was raped or something like that. So
absolutely. I can really resonate with that. Yeah.
right, so I've studied it quite a bit. I was kind of pulled into that world. I never posted anything publicly, but I was pulled into that world and almost got into it at one point because I was desperate single mom going through a lot, poverty, really deep poverty, and I almost did it. And so I understand the mindset of why you would, but then I don't know, God pulled me out of it. I just couldn't. Nope, I couldn't quite do it. And I'm so glad I didn't. I felt like I preserved that specialness, and I still have a heart for people that are doing it. I get it, but it's opening a lot of doors because there's men out there watching these videos where you're just giving it away, right? Just giving it away, your sexual energy. If somebody's doing it, they're giving away their sexual energy, and that's happening at any time, and that's a doorway to dark energy. That opens portals to dark energy. So I think a lot of these people don't realize what they're actually doing, and so when that's going on, um, they might have symptoms in their lives, sickness or weird relationships or bad luck or something like that, because that's honestly a doorway to darkness and dark energy. I was at a deliverance conference last week, and I'm not a Christian by religion, but I wanted to see how exorcisms work. I wanted to see how these Christians in California were doing it at this church I was at. It was a conference that lasted all week, and they were talking about how demons can come in that way, just so many different ways, and they have this ability to do that. So yeah, it's very risky for women to do that, and it's understandable that they do, but I really just want to drive the point home that there's other ways. There's other ways to get money. There's other ways to heal, etc.
Yes,
You know.
yes. Thank you, Rosie. And it's the Lilith energy. Remember that we have the Anunnakis, we have the Enlil, Enki, and Lilith, right?
Yep.
And that is the Lilith energy. And it's so weird because that Lilith being was in one of my dreams, and she started bleeding black. And first she was like an old lady. She was like helping me. She wanted me to paint something for her. And then she started getting really, really old, ugly, decrepit, and then bleeding black. And I don't know how I ran away from that home, but
Yeah.
back then I do understand, because back then I didn't know what to do either after my divorces and my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I've been married one time, and I was desperate also, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I was left homeless. He took everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what is OnlyFans? And then some people said, oh, well, you can just pose like in really pretty lingerie, but if you want to take it to the next level, you can have sex with someone. And this was a guy telling me from the gym that I used to go to, and he was in the army, and I had considered him my brother. But after him totally changing to where he started liking younger women, posting, sending me pictures of them, I go, you need to stop. I said, because I don't consent to this. I don't even know why you're sending them to me. And he went to another country. I won't say which one, because it was cheaper to live there. And he was trying to explain to me, well, you can do this, you can do that, and get more money. And I was about to do that. And that day I said, you know what? I can't do that, because I was born Catholic and Christian. Like, I can't. Like, what would my dad think? What would my kids think? And then it's so weird. During the same time, I lived beside a girl who used to be she worked as a medical assistant, but then she lost her job and she had a daughter. and she went into the strip club. And I had never been to a strip club. She took me over there. She says, Veronica, it's my first day. I want you to be there. And I'm like, okay. But it was just really weird. What the hell? Just, you open doors to these things, and then you got to shut them. You got to shut them out. You got to shut them out, because then the thought forms come from the archons, like, why don't you try this? Or why don't you, it's okay. No, it's not okay. They have ways of flipping your mind and flipping you and making you think that it's okay to have like tons and tons of relationships. And then they'll send them. I always say, I call them the CIA love bites. They'll send you different men or women, for you to, oh, maybe this one's the one for me. Maybe I'll get married. Maybe this is the one. And it's just bullshit. And sadly, it's in the community. Go ahead, Somah, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Veronica. So this is really interesting conversation we're having. What came to mind when you guys were speaking was Mary Magdalene and the whole story about her being a prostitute. And I don't believe that story now. And I'm sure you guys don't either, but it's interesting how it's the whole sexual energy with prostitution and money and that whole journey of going from that Rozie was talking about, going from being abused or being raped and then going into prostitution to actually heal that part of you. That's a whole journey. I find that very fascinating. And yeah, and there's a couple of things I'd like to share or maybe talk about this evening. I don't know if you guys want to, but the whole disclosure movement and all the problems that just seem to be getting worse within it, the divide and the infiltration. And also I was thinking today, I've been thinking it for a while, probably the last 6 months, but I've really seen the world getting very violent. And it's not about the dark being exposed and always being there, because yes, the dark's always been there since the downfall of Atlantis, that I understand. But the world has dramatically, increasingly got so much more violent. And it's not that it's just being exposed and a light is being shone on the dark, but that there has been a huge increase in violent, horrific, crazy, evil stuff that people are doing. And I think I don't know if you guys have seen, what's it called? The King's Men or The King's Man, an English movie, an English film where everyone goes really violent, but it's the phones that are doing it. And I think there is technology being used. I don't know what form of technology. I don't know if it was the Jabberwockies, if there was something in that, but the world has got so much more violent. So what do you guys think of everything I've just said?
I think it has a lot to do with the drugs. What is it called? The whole what is it? I can't believe. Hello, let me have my channel back. It's the whole agenda that the people are addicted now. It used to be heroin, cocaine, crack. Now it's fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I call the zombie apocalypse, because that also with the baby Jabberwocky. And what it is those that got the baby Jabberwocky is their antennas. They're remote controlled now because of the graphene oxide. And they've made people antennas, and so they can create instead of creating mass shootings, they can create mass violence, rape, whatever. It's the art of war, divide and conquer. They started way back in the day, even before politics was around, but then politics, religion, education, And like Rozie was saying, you know, I can relate to what you were saying before we started recording as far as being in the judicial system, because I was not part of the good old boy club when I was in the force, and I don't know how I did it. It's corrupt. Some of the people are corrupt, unfortunately.
Well, you
Go
know,
ahead.
here in Oregon, to your point about drugs, in 2021, it was of it was made into law that they decriminalized drugs. So people here in Oregon were only getting like a written warning or something, or a misdemeanor if they were carrying a certain amount of drugs, and it was meth, heroin, pretty much trank. One of them is called trank, and then of course fentanyl. And so a lot of people moved to Oregon to do drugs. And it just, during the height of the pandemic in 2021, that's when it was suddenly legal. Almost, I mean, of course, a lot of people assumed it was on purpose because it's just the perfect storm. I was a volunteer CASA, so a court-appointed special advocate. I worked with children who are wards of the court, born to drug-addicted mothers and that were neglected by their parents and because of drugs. And so the uptick, of course, when this happened, was a lot of children thrown into the foster system, overwhelming amount. And Oregon wouldn't admit this, but it's extremely corrupt here. I had my one of my supervisors said after a hearing, almost in tears, she said, "They don't care about us." And I was like, "Who?" And she said, "The government. They don't care about us." And she would know, working with children all the time in the court system. And then as a family law, working in family law offices and criminal law office at one point as well, I got to see court cases where, I mean, this is just, it's awful. It's as you said, a plague. Absolutely. I think it's a modern day plague because there really isn't the funding. So in Oregon, at one point, we were ranked 50th out of the 50 states in the United States. We were ranked 50th for help for treatment centers, and we were number 2 in the nation for drug addicted. So the worst help and the highest level, almost the highest level, second to Vermont. And I think it's shifted a little bit, and they've since changed the law, but not after the damage was done during the pandemic when people were most vulnerable. So a lot of people got into it, a lot of women and children that were already in poverty, way worse, a big burden. So and then, they compiled the government shutdown on it right now with SNAP benefits. So food stamps being taken away. So
yeah, they took mine away. So I'm like trying to make more books or sell more books online because I'm like, what the hell just happened?
That was one of my questions I had for you guys this evening, was about the food stamps, because I was talking to someone the other day and she was saying, no, food stamps are not being taken away, but they are. And she lives in America. But yeah, I'm very surprised, because I would be a pro-Trump supporter, with some of the spiritual experiences I've had with him since 2020, on the astral. So I'm very surprised that he's taking away food stamps. Is there some deeper meaning I'm missing?
Supposedly it's these two, I wrote them down. Let me see if I can find them. There's these 2 bankruptcies that the government is going through, and supposedly it has nothing to do with Trump. That's what I was told. Let me see if I can find them.
Congress goes.
Say again? I found them. What was that?
They're trying to figure out what to do with the money, I guess, and they have to agree. I'm not a professional, but Congress has to, it's not just Trump, of course, it's Congress voting or whatever to figure it out. And then they distribute it from there. But right now they're waiting to figure out what to do with it, or deciding. I think the last 2020 or 2018, 2019 that happened before the 30 days they shut.
Yeah, it was during the Obama administration that happened too. But here it's the name of the two bankruptcies are British Territorial, and the second one is the second one that's going to go in either at the end of November or December. Bankruptcy is municipal government. That's what I wrote down. And then there's another lady that posted, I don't know her name, I don't know her or anything, but I saw some advertisement saying that if people want their food stamps, they're only going to get half. And then others are saying, oh, well, if you want food stamps, you have to do 15 hours of volunteer work. I'm like, what the hell is this? Are we being like, is this becoming a, like a CDC country? Or, because I know socialism got in through Marxism. And I always talk about that book that Cyrus Parsa wrote, Raped by Social Media. And he also wrote a book called The Artificial Intelligence and the Wrongdoing to Humanity. But Cyrus Parsa, yeah, he wrote a lot about that, how we were infiltrated with the sex kitten program, Marxism, the CCP, and, and right now I have from a whistleblower that said that Japanese and the Chinese are enemies, and that China has pretty much taken over the world on that end, and then that the Japanese are pretty much scared of the Chinese for their technology and things like that. Now, Trump has, well, not Trump, but the Space Force. They have, I think, 20 of special drones that have like 8 arms on them that can whip out China like that. China has 2 of those drones with 2 arms only. And then Russia has maybe 3. So this is infiltration that I've been also talking about since the past. It's not just with the pandemic. It's been written through and through, and then they're also using revelations, because a lot of people right now are looking at 3-Eye Atlas, and that's a shift. Yeah, go ahead, Rosie. Oh, she's taking a break. Okay, go ahead, Somah.
Thanks, Veronica. So what is there was a bleep there where I couldn't hear what you were saying, but in reply to about Trump and the food stamps, is it Trump that's stopping the food stamps?
It's not Trump. It's these 2 bankruptcies that are going on, and it's the first one is British Territorial, and the second bankruptcy is called municipal government, by the municipal government.
Okay.
So, and also the food stamp were also shut down and then brought back up by the Obama administration. So it's not Trump per se, it's the government. So, okay. And then, so you did hear me when I was talking about the different drones that we have, right?
Yes.
That the United States has, yeah.
Yeah.
So if there was a nuclear war, the United States is equipped to pretty much annihilate China if they wanted to. It's all about fear tactics. It's all about how we are brought up and how we're gonna like have our awakening, or we've had our awakening. And then, just like you said, Mary Magdalene, she was actually in another reality. She was married to Joshua Benjamin. And I have the Mary Magdalene book. And I know that I always say we have the M for the Mary Magdalene Jesus bloodline, Ashiana Dean talks about how he was not. Oh, yes, you do have it. Yeah, Merovingian bloodline. That's us. Part of the 144,000 and more. There you go. Beautiful. Do you have it, Rosie? The M?
I think on which hand?
Both. Some of them only have it on one hand.
Oh, I have.
Oh, yeah. You have both of them. Yeah. You're there.
Well, it's funny because I when I first read the book, The Da Vinci Code in 2006, that was when I first found out. I grew up Catholic, so I was like, I learned about that was I know that book's not completely, it's just a fiction, but that stuck out to me and I cried. As soon it hit me like, oh my gosh, that was Jesus' wife, Jesus's wife. And then when I had I guess it would be my activation at East Seti Ranch with James Gilliland. He did a TPRS, a transpersonal release session, and brought in my guides. I had two other females there in the room, and we were doing this it's a session that he did with us during a volunteer weekend in 2019. And he said that my spirit guide was Mary Magdalene. And it just made me cry immediately. And she's kind of been with me ever since. So that's very, very powerful connection with her. And I
I
think,
can hear that emotion. I can hear that emotion in your voice. I think everyone can.
yeah, it's very powerful. She was actually a human. So when I have a connection with her, it's like talking to my sister or my auntie or something. Like when I'm communicating with her. I think you're muted.
Thanks, Rozie. I had a thing recently where I was sent a message by James Gilliard. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. And about a month ago, he sent me a message on, I think it was WhatsApp or Facebook, saying, "Hi, blah blah blah. Let's do an interview." So of course I replied saying, "Yes, I'd love to." And it was ironic because, or synchronicity, because I had just the few days before that, I was just watching a lot of his videos. And then of course he showed up and said we should do an interview. So I replied. But I actually, and I do need to message him because I actually think it was a fake account.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's just there's so much out there right now. I just judge when it comes down to it. The only way we can really judge is by our own intuition and discernment, judging by the fruits. And if it doesn't feel right, if it feels off, if we don't like the feeling, James would tell you do a healing. And I consider him to be a good friend. I've known him for a few years. He helped me in the beginning with that. We're not very close, but he is a friend. And after this event I went to last week, it brought me closer to that innate sense of what my own personal connection with source is. I think that women right now are rising up. If we're talking about the divine feminine, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. We're seeing a lot of this. And Mary Magdalene represents somebody that held and kind of carried the torch in many ways of what it's like to be accused or blamed or seen as less than a man, I guess, as a nice way of putting it, a whore. They slandered her name and used Jesus to do it, which is even worse. So I know that, we forgive. I mean, Jesus on the cross, the story goes that he said, forgive them for they know not what they do. And he was a living embodiment of love. So I think that as long as we do our best and imagine if Mary was his wife, what she would be like.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty incredible woman. And I keep thinking, okay, what does it look like to be the living embodiment of unconditional love? When as mothers, and I'm a mother, we know we know what that's like to hold that space for our children. And I think that it's just going to be seen in the way we treat each other at this time. Even people that are totally taken possessed 100% will see that, or 99.9%. I don't think anybody can be totally taken. I think everybody's savable if they so choose, in that they can choose the light. We always have that option. But it's a matter of being aware of our own fruits, aware of our words, aware of the way we come across, aware of the way of things that are coming into our lives, because that's a reflection of us as well. And it's a lot of accountability that humans haven't wanted to take for a long time, because they tend to associate accountability with shame, especially with the whole sex industry thing. That's very, very full of people rebelling. In the drug industry, we see a lot of people as a CASA, a lot of these parents in the system that lose their children, they associate accountability with shame. Therefore, they rebel against the system, which is, self-sabotage and harms the children involved. And it's just a system of that, essentially.
Rozie, would you speak to or about the black magic used? Because I think the black magic is used by the satanic or reptilian or whoever the fuck they are.
Everybody that wants to do harm.
Yeah, but
Yes.
but that black magic that's used, because that it has to be used in every system, not just the money system or the pharmaceutical system or the police system, or all systems, include especially the government,
Everywhere.
but also in the feminine energy and the sexual energy and the louche,
They just flip it, But go ahead, Rozie. Sorry.
It's every single thing that the good can infiltrate, the bad can infiltrate. So one thing I learned last week in this deliverance conference, these are straight up, we were watching, they were doing exorcisms in the church right there in front of us. Okay, so this is real stuff. This spiritual battle, 100% real. I get it now. I'm a believer. Anything they can infiltrate, they will. So and again, this is a situation where, it is in the government. It's in the government. It's in all alphabet agencies. It's in every agency that's supposed to help us, including the Department of Human Services, Child Protective Services, adoption agencies. It's there. Now it's compartmentalized because there's a lot of good people in there too. I'd say most are good. But there is that vein of darkness that infiltrates. The Satanic Church knows all about this stuff. And they do everything they can. They just did it on Halloween. That's their day of, between 12 and 2 in the morning. That's when they do these rituals mostly. The best way that we can combat this is to call it out and shine a light on it and make people aware. And also at the same time being aware of, and this is really hard to do, but embodying Christ energy or unconditional love, Christ consciousness, source energy, whatever we call it, we will see in ourselves things popping up. And as we process that echoes out from us so that others can process theirs. That's the one power we actually have, is over ourselves. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of us to see, because it's easy to point fingers. As soon as we point fingers, that's because it's a reflection of ourselves, which is really, that's a big one. Spending a lot of time alone without the influence of others helps us to get tapped into the voice of God coming in, and praying a lot and just speaking words that clear our frequency. Doesn't matter if we call it prayer, doesn't matter what we call it. It's literally down to quantum mechanics, quantum physics, speaking this stuff to replace and deliver or get rid of or even transmute the stuff that doesn't help us. And it's, again, by its fruits. But yep, absolutely. I've seen darkness and evil in the court system. I've seen it in these cases. I've seen it in doctors' offices when I was a kid. I've seen it as an adult. It's everywhere. And the best way to combat it is to combat it within first, so we can better understand it in others. As soon as we understand it in ourselves and see our own light and shine it as bright as we can within and take care of ourselves, love ourselves, love our children, keep our sacred sexuality protected, and just let it build ourselves up, this all gets a lot easier to discern, a lot easier to make good choices and be good examples for others. And it's the most powerful thing. It's way more powerful. I've seen it. I've seen the power of Christ consciousness in full action. And it's a joke. Anything less than that is a joke. It's really the darkness, evil, whatever we want to call it, cannot create life. It gets its life from stealing from others. So there's a sign right there. I would even go as far as to say that there's a reason why they call Satan he, because a woman could not hold that space. A woman could not do that, being able to carry life in her. There's a lot of dark deities that are feminine, and one could judge either way about that. I try not to put too much judgment on that because I know a lot of people align with these deities to help strengthen them. But again, if it means that we have to go against the light in any way, or send harm to anybody, or feel like harming other people or even ourselves, that's a sign. That's a red flag. So this is definitely boots on the ground, spiritual battle, light versus dark.
And some of the things that were coming to mind as you were speaking, Rozie, is the spells and language, and the spell binding, and how the language has been manipulated so much and changed so much. There's thousands of words that have been taken out of the English language. And then the other thing that was coming to mind is the programming and TV programs and how we've all been programmed. And then, of course, there was the recent BBC videos I've seen lately where they doctored one of Trump's speeches that I think that happened about 3 years ago. That's been circulating the internet as well.
Right. I mean, we know they have the technology to do that. I knew it when they first came out with the ability to take someone's face and make a new video out of it. I mean, that was a lot of us kind of saw it coming. And that's, again, this is where we are to decide what we put our faith into, what we put stock into. And it just drives the point forward or home that we need to put it into ourselves, our own discernment, spend time alone in nature, alone. It's good for us. And then come back together and find like-minded people who are showing their status, their spiritual status, by the fruits, by the way they speak and the way that they act. So they can make a bunch of posts online, but how are they really living out their lives? That's a huge deal.
And a lot of us, I think, since the last year, mostly, well, it's progressive, but I've noticed it really lately over the last year that so many of us are realigning and again stepping into the sovereignty that we all did or a lot of us did in 2019, 2019, 2020, where a lot of us stepped into the sovereignty, and many of us even took decrees. And that seems to be the energy over the last year, where a lot of us are stepping back into realignment and disconnecting from the outside world. And also some of us who have been blessed with money are really creating very large communities, and I think the rest of us who don't have that blessed financial status are looking at ways to create variations of that in the future. You know, a lot of us are looking to create retreat centers or healing centers or communities or just homesteading where we homeschool our children, we get back to nature, we start growing our own fruit and vegetables and clean water and detoxifying our bodies from parasites and nanotechnology and chemtrails and
Well, you know what would be nice is if these millionaires would help us actually do that instead of spending money on conferences that you just have sex, party, and do drugs. I'm just saying.
That'd be great, right?
Hey, can you come over here? I don't even have a vehicle. Maybe you can get me one that's like used, and I'll go and help, these people plant something, sandia or watermelon or something. I don't know. I'm just I just get upset because
I know. But I'd like to add something to that, Veronica.
yeah.
You know, I really don't care what people do, as long as they're not hurting other people. They're not hurting.
Right, exactly.
You know, if it's
But we're talking about like helping us in the community.
There needs to be so much more of that. There's so much more. I've been really disappointed lately that that there's not enough new social medias that are uncensored, you know. And there are people, there's a lot of people with money in our spiritual field or the disclosure movement who I feel are really holding on to their money and yeah. So
popularity and who can write the most books and who can make the most money so that they can keep going on and partying and having these whatever. But it would be cool if it would be real disclosure. It's just a lot of people get caught in the, oh, I want the gory, I want heads being cut off, I want those stories. And it's like, okay, but there's stories that are real that not necessarily happen that way, and they're here on earth that I write about life, real life here that is also a bleed through in your astral. So, and yes, of course, some are war. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is where people reveal the fruits. That's the fruit. That's the way they think. And that's it right there. I mean, it's coming down to that where what do you want? What are you seeking? Seek and you shall find. If you want to find gore, you're going to find it. There's plenty of it. I personally, the way I see it is that we've seen it all. Like we've seen it all. We've documented it all. In our community, the disclosure community, there's a lot of documentation of all the super soldiers, the secret space program, the horrific things that have happened with satanic ritual abuse. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yep.
We can take all that, we can keep looking at it and keep putting our energy toward it, or we can just set it aside and say, lesson learned. What are we going to do different now? And so
yes.
Solution-based thinking, what are we doing now? Where's our money really going? The one thing that the light has had trouble doing, and I've said this before, is organization. The dark's very organized, but the light has trouble. We get distracted, we're pulled around, abused, and mistreated. It's time for us to get together and get something created here.
Mm-hmm.
And can I just
go ahead?
Sorry, Veronica. Can I just add to that? Because I'm sure there'll be people listening that are in the white hat movement. Like, where are you guys? Step up. Like, come on.
Being taken off planet and shot, but they're still alive. That's the white hat program. Sorry, sometimes I just know a lot, and then sometimes it's like I don't know anything, and then sometimes it's like, can't people see the lies that they're still throwing to through the lines of the fake news? I mean, you have to really, like Rozie said, you really have to use your intuition and maybe do a 3-day fast to reset and get off social media for a little bit, or ask yourself what are you really doing on social media, like how are you helping?
I did a fast on Halloween and the next day for the children, and I mean, and that was after watching a bunch of demons getting exorcised out of the people on the floor in a church. Like, I was just like, okay. And the thing
I've
is,
done that at church. I've exorcised demons, and what I do is I go to people's homes if they have a ghost, quote unquote, or a demon. I go and I take that crap out. I do that, but I also warn them: do not invite this and that, and do not. You got to change your ways, because
don't,
what happens, it gets worse if you don't listen to me, and if you don't really want to change your life like that. You know
and
what I mean?
constantly replace it with something good, because there's that void for some people, and sometimes it'll come back when we leave, right? So they constantly praying or seeking higher thinking, seeking higher ways. It really comes down to like, what choices do we make in every moment? What thoughts do we have in our head in the moment? Like, I've gotten to the point, so this is where discernment's gotten for me. I've gotten to the point where if I find myself thinking about something that's kind of dark or bad, I'm so aware of my body that I'm like, oh, nope. Okay, well, that is bad, right? I'll be like, yeah, that sucks, but what am I doing about it? Okay, deep breath. I'm clearing that out. Okay, and then I just force myself into a different thought. I still know about that other thought. It doesn't go away. I'm not ignoring it, but I'm choosing a different way or a solution so I can heal it. Healing it. All right, we learn from that, better choices in the future to go forward. That's how I think humanity is going to do it. We don't need any more lessons. I don't need any more lessons. I think we're over it. If people still need lessons, they can go ahead and have them, but please just do it over there and let the rest of us have the the new life that we all deserve. We've all been through it enough. From what I understand, we are headed up. There's nothing's going to stop this. Nothing's going to stop this. We're just processing through all the old stuff. A lot of these thoughts that we're carrying, that's ancestral DNA, ancestral trauma, and we're processing everything. So all of us, humanity, carrying all that stuff. So we're processing it out. Got to be patient with each other, patient with ourselves.
Go ahead, Somah.
Thanks, Veronica. I love the stuff that you're speaking of, Rozie, and I think so many people will resonate with what you're saying this evening. And some of the things that were coming to mind when Veronica was speaking just now, and you, um, to do with the church and the possession and the demonic possession. Some of my training in the shamanic stuff was coming to mind, how when the shamans, when I was in the shamanic training, how my shamanic teacher was taking away energy, like demonic possession, and he was teaching us that we need to fill that empty gap within the body, and he was talking about the stomach. He was focusing in on that at the time, when he was healing someone, and he was showing us the process and what to do. And one of the things he taught us was to take the energy, that demonic possession energy, away, and then put a red rose or a pink rose into the stomach area to fill it. And how change is really needed, when that energy is absent or taken away, that it brings about change within us, and we need to realign and change our ways. Otherwise, that energy just comes back like that. That's what you were speaking of just now, Veronica.
Yeah, I call in, so I pretty much take out whatever's going on in the house, and then I bring in the good energy, the love, the healing, the whatever it is the household needs. I call it now bendiciones, food, healing, prosperity, healing from past lives, past trauma, just for the family to come together in unity and love, and for all the goodness to be restored to us, that was taken. I say 7 times 7 times 7, you will restore this home. You will bring back whatever was stolen. You will replace it 7 times 7 times 7. I just keep going and going. And that is how and I'm bringing this life right now as I speak in this channel. I am bringing whatever was stolen to you out there and to us. It will be and is being restored and rectified because karma is real, but at the same time, you cannot, when you can rectify something yourself, you do it. But when you cannot, you let God. You let God and you let go. And that's what I've learned in my life. You have to heal. You have to forgive yourself. You have to keep going. No matter what's thrown at you, you survive. You get up, you dust yourself off, like it says in the word, I am that I am that I am, and I will keep going. I am the Lion of Judah. I am prosperity. I am love and life. I am the light. I create in the darkness because I am light. And I can keep going on. And this is just love. I'm crying because I just really want people to get out of the dark holes, get out of the stuff that even people has shoveled you in there. Or like I was telling one of my family members today, I said, look, what happens is we're like a palette of color, right? We're like a palette of color. We'll just say, and there's these beautiful palettes, and that's you, and there's a mirror, and you close it, and that's you. But what happens is you divide yourself. You give too much to others, and they take. And what happens? You get ill. You have to come back to yourself and say, oh, I got to bring back everything that was taken from me 7 times fold. And for me to restore to, sometimes you just have to take a break. Sometimes you have to do a 3-day fast. Sometimes you have to stay away from those people, even family members that you think that are there for you, but they're just being your handlers because they want the chisme, they want the mitote. Hey, what's up? Well, okay, they try to tell you what to do, and you're like, no, you cannot be my handler anymore. Like, you can't even handle your own situation at home. Why are you calling me? Why? Because I have life? Go get your own life. Go get your own light. Leave my light alone. If I can share it with you, I will, but not in this way. Always like, I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent. This has been tough because Halloween, I died for 3 days 15 years ago. I'm alive. I tell my family, I laugh. I'm a quinceañera, I've been alive here 15 more years.
Mm-hmm.
My light, I feel like, maybe my clone, I don't know, maybe my clone is just being restored, or maybe I think it's me that came back when that light hit my chest. When I asked, is there a true God that loves me? And that light went out of my chest. Well, that's me. I'm back. And so I'm still learning, even with what you just said, Rozie.
Somebody said this, and it helped me understand it so much. Like, imagine like a gymnasium, like a high school gymnasium, completely dark inside, completely like pitch black, can't even see the hand in front of your face, right? It's so dark. And imagine what would happen if you just lit a match. Boom. That's how big the light is compared to the dark. That's how a tiny little match, little tiny flame can light up a whole room. You can see it from every corner of that gymnasium. That's how powerful that is.
Thank you so much. What got to me was when I read the book of the law. In the book of the law, there was the Holy Spirit was actually Baphomet. I was like, holy F, we've been taught the wrong way. When I read Cain and Abel, when I read the book of Enoch, I just cried and cried. And I even had told my friend, she even stepped off the platform because I was crying so much. And I said, I now realize that the lies that they've been telling us in the church, like what the heck? So we're serving this God that is the wrong God in the church. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, like Zeus, when I removed Zeus, like Jesus was actually Zeus from Jupiter, but we know the real Jeshua Benjamin. We know the real bloodline because it's in us, and then I also heard that Mary Magdalene comes from the Nephilim bloodline. That's why she's so protected, and that's their whole secret. The Da Vinci Code talks about that, but people kind of don't get it. And the bioluminescence, the orgone, the blue that comes from the sun, that is life. That is healing us. That's why we always say we got to go ground outside and go to the light, which meaning the sun light, that's orgone. And like you said before we started this, we don't go to the tunnel. Like I tell people, don't go, because when I saw that light around that door and I opened it while I was back, and then that's when I saw my dad. He said, you got to come back. And that's when I was being brought back here. which I'm glad I'm back because my mission is not over. But when we're done here, you don't go to the tunnels. You don't go to that light because that is a fake light. You go to the stars, like Max told you, right? You go you go actually off planet. You go to the darkness where we can create again, which is not darkness, the bad darkness. It's just the void where we can create. And then we can find our true light there and go back to source or wherever we came from, which is could be your planet or wherever, or it's the stars. We're stardust. You know, we're always evolving, and we're not this human, but we have to take care of our body because our body is the love of our life. It always shows up every day, right? We have to take care of our temple.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up Catholic, dipped in and out of the church. One thing I learned this last week was that demons don't like the name Jesus Christ. They don't like that. And there's probably a very good reason for that. I think we all know. They cannot create life. They can only steal. So we have the ability to call in however we see fit, but I like to say Jesus Christ, just whatever. And that is so simple. It's very simple. Things have been overcomplicated and there's a lot of muddying of the waters, but it's very simple. And we know deep in our hearts what's wrong and what's right, what's of the light and what's of the dark, however we want to label those things. And it's literally as simple as speaking light language, which is love, speaking the way that Jesus would have spoken, you know, the Jesus that we understand would have spoken. That's it. Loving words to each other, treating other people, treating everyone like an old friend, giving people the benefit of the doubt, trying our best not to take offense, and to see and knowing that everybody's struggling here, that this is a battle, and that we set the example in ourselves. We set the best example. That's all we can really do. It really comes down to it.
Yes, Rosie, thank you for being on, and thank you, Carol, Somah. I know it's been a while. We were talking before online. We better call it quits for now, but would you like to be on again, Rosie?
I would love to be on again. I would love it.
Thank you.
And I'd love to have you.
Thank you.
I would love it. You have a beautiful soul. I love it. Love you so much, Veronica.
Thank you so much.
And you too.
Thank you so much. Thanks, you guys. And it's true, the demons don't like the name of Jesus Christ, but he is our brother. We are his flock, you know, we are his children, and we are his brother too. I always like, okay, what are we? Is he our dad or is he our brother? But all I know is that we are like him. Because he said you will do things like I did, but more. So,
right.
Okay.
Can we take all that he did and knowing more stuff now and doing more with it? It's a lot. It's a big job we got, but we can do it. We can do it. We've got all the tools. We've got internet. We're able to talk to each other and meet each other. We have everything we need and then some.
And that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. Before I go, Kylan shoots. How funny how we were talking about him before. He says, "Hi everyone, Somah. Yes, that's what I think. The Kingsman kind of messaging." And so before we go, can you just Rosie, can you tell us where you can be found? And then I'll put the information here, and then I have Somah's information too, and I'll put that on there. Where can people find you if they want to talk to you or message you, Rosie?
I'm Rozie Alyze. I'm on Instagram. I have links on there. I do coaching and mediation for people that are struggling with family law issues, and a lot of other things too with that area. But that's where you can find me mostly. Pretty easy to get a hold of.
Thank you, Mama. So send me the link and then I'll post it. And then Somah, she does readings as well. I do readings. We're all here together, community. we can all help in some way, shape, or form, as long as you guys are willing to listen and change your ways. Remember to fast, remember to love yourself, and remember to hug yourself. And remember, we are more than powerful than 10,000 suns put together in just one person. I love you, ladies. We'll see you. Bye, audience. Love you guys.
Love you.